All right, welcome back. This is part five of the pre-course training, the final part of the training. I do apologize that part four was a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated, but it was very valuable information. So I don't want to take up too much more of the time. So let's go ahead and get started with the last and final part of the pre-course training, and that is understanding the certificate. Okay, so this is the final thing you're going to be doing on a document. It's actually completing the certificate. Now, just to kind of give you some facts about the certificate, this is the most important part for a notary. This is the part also that you control. If anything is not correct in the certificate, you should change that. You must change that. If there's a date, if there's a name, anything that doesn't match what you are certifying, because this is the part that you're saying that I looked at it, I verified it, and this I'm certifying and verifying that this individual is the person who was either signing or who took an oath, if in the case of a jurat, that they are the person that they say they are. I verified their ID. They signed it in front of me if it's a jurat, or it was signed and they acknowledged that it was their signature in terms of acknowledgement. So again, if the name is not right here, you put one line through it and you initial right above. Anything that is not correct, you would put a line through it and initial above. You will notice that sometimes I've had packages where there was, someone may have a residence that's in a different state, and they will put that state and the county that their location of the actual residence or the property is located at versus where the venue of the person who is actually signing and where the signing is taking place. So let me just go ahead and read a few facts here. So the certificate tells you what type of notarization to do. Okay. Also, any facts that you need to verify and take action on. So this is where I was telling you, you want to read your certificate, and it will tell you if it's a jurat or if it's acknowledgement. Based on the way the language reads. So if it's an acknowledgement, it will read, something around the way, this person acknowledges on this date that yada, yada, yada. Whereas with a jurat, it will speak on this person swears to the truth and accuracy of the document. That when they're swearing to something that tells you that it's a jurat, they're just acknowledging something, that's an acknowledgement. Okay. So the final steps, once you figure out what you're doing, whether it's a jurat or an acknowledgement, the final step is to fill out, sign, and seal the notary certificate. I'm going to show you a certificate in just a few minutes. And you want to read that wording carefully to make sure it's nothing that is incorrect. No incorrect name, no incorrect venue, which is where you're going to be signing at. Nothing should be incorrect on that certificate. If it is, again, this is your section of the document and you are certifying the information on this section, whether it's because a lot of times the certificate will be part of the document, but that's the notary section, okay? So if a document doesn't have enough space or room for your certificate, you should use a pre-printed certificate, which will give you some reference material, which will have a pre-printed certificate that you can utilize. And you would actually staple that to the document. Sometimes you're not going to staple it, but I'll show you one where you attach it, but you put wording on there so you know that it's attached to a particular document. And I'll show you that in the next slide or so. And now, if you're not sure of if it's a jurat or if it is a acknowledgement, it is up to the signer to tell you the type of certificate that they require for this document. So you do not determine that. And a lot of times when you do notary signing agent, the language, you can tell by what the language says. But if you're just doing a document that does not have a certificate already attached, it is upon the signer to tell you the type of certificate that should be attached to that document. Okay. Now, if a certificate is pre-printed with incorrect information, as I stated before, you can line through. You only do one line to make corrections, and then you will initial. It says initial and date. Typically, you don't have to put a date. You can put that, but you do have to have one line through. Do not, like people have a tendency to want to scribble or scratch it out. You put one line through it because you want to still be able to see what it said, even though you're correcting it. What did it say? If you scratch it out, it looks like you're trying to hide something. It's something like you're trying to alter a document. So one line and initial. Okay, and then you must sign with the name on your commission. So you're going to get a notary commission. If you're not a notary already, you will have to become one, and you have a commission. If you are a notary, then however you registered when you signed up to be a notary with the state is how you're going to sign. I unfortunately signed up with my full name, my first, middle, and last, no initials. So every time I sign now, which is I had to get used to, because every time I sign, I have to write my full signature out with my full name spelled out. So however it appears on your commission is how you're going to sign. Okay, let's go to the next slide. There are 4 primary parts of a certificate that all certificates should have. Okay, it should have 1, the venue. The venue is the state and county where the signing took place. Okay, so you're gonna, if we're assuming you're in the state of Virginia, so you have Virginia as your state, and then the county. So whatever that county is, it doesn't have to be a city, it has to be the county. So some cities will have a particular county. So let me put it this way: some counties will have multiple cities. That is cities or towns that is part of that county. So it's important that you put the county, not the city. Okay, and then you also want to put. It should also have a body. A body is usually like a paragraph where it speaks to the date it's being signed, who's signing, sometimes what was verified. It just, every one will be a little bit different. I'm going to give you an example of one, but the language will change, but it still has those basic components. Sometimes you have to fill out the date and so forth. Sometimes it's pre-filled. It really varies between documents, but no matter what, it should have a body. Okay. The third thing it should have or must have is the notary's signature to be a valid certificate. The notary must sign that document. Okay. And then the fourth part that it must have. Now, all these are things that it must have. It does not mean, sometimes you'll have additional information. I'll show you the next one will have some additional information, which I'll talk through. The sample I want to give is a sample of one that's independent, pre-printed, or you can fill it out yourself. You can write that language yourself, and it will have some additional information. So a document you're actually attaching, you'll be attaching that to a document that doesn't have a certificate. But the last thing it must have is an official notary seal. Okay. Now, some people get this confused with, you have to have an embossed seal where it's actually embossed onto the document. That's not required in the state of Virginia. It can be an embossed seal, or it can just be a stamp. Okay. So however your notary seal is set up, a lot of people just do a stamp. It doesn't matter if it's circular or rectangular. But let me show you now the next document, which will give you a sample certificate. Okay. So you see here, there are 4 main components. All right, so the first one is the venue, and that's going to be the state and county. So you see here, Commonwealth of, what's the state? Virginia. County of where? Stafford. And this is just an example. Okay, and then the next section is the body. The body will vary depending on the certificate. This is just one example, and it says the foregoing instrument was acknowledged. So what does that mean? It was acknowledged. So what does that mean? Does that mean this is a jurat or this is an acknowledgement? It is an acknowledgement, because it says it was acknowledged before me on September 25th. Let's just put in the date 2021 by John Signer. Okay, that's the person who signed, John Signer. So it's going to have their name. The body is going to have the date. In most cases, not all the time will have a date, but in generally we'll have a date. Sometimes we'll ask for, instead of saying before me, it may ask that you fill in your name. So John Notary You know, say comma notary public. So this will vary. So don't think it's always going to look like this language, but it should have a date. It should have it should always have a date in the name of the person that's going to be signing, or person or persons that will be signing the document. And then the third part is a signature. You should be signing the certificate. You must sign the notary certificate for it to be a valid certificate. Okay, and then the fourth and final part is a stamp. So this is one version. You may typically see a stamp just kind of outlined with the name notary signer, Commonwealth of Virginia, your registration number, and then the date that your commission expires. Okay. So these are the four components that must be part of your certificate. Now, if you see here, there's some additional things that are here. So for example, this one has, sometimes they ask, even though it's a part of your stamp, there'll be requirements to actually fill in your commission expiration date. So in that case, you just put it in. There's no particular format, so you can put, you know, month, day, year, or you can just write it out with the month spelled out, day, year. It should, and some people, you know, military and so forth will write the day, then month, then year. So whatever that format is, it does not matter. But if it asks for the expiration date for your commission, even though it's on your stamp, you still put it in there. This is also what I was talking about when you can attach the document, attach the certificate to a particular document. And if you do that, what you want to do is put language on that certificate. And you see here, I have attachment, and it's for the document loan number. So that's specific, you know, it's for a specific loan number. That makes it unique. And what document is it attached to? The deed of trust. Okay. So this cannot be confused with, so, you know, we talked about earlier stapling it. You don't need to staple this because it's clear that this certificate is attached to the loan number with XX, and the specific document is the deed of trust. Okay. So this is an example of when you're utilizing a pre-printed certificate, or you can, you know, write up the language yourself. There's some standard language that you can get from the state, but you can write it up yourself. But in a lot of cases, when you're doing it as a, and again, this training is about being more of a notary, but when you do become a notary signing agent, almost every document that you need to notarize will have its own language on that specific document. There are rare instances where you have to do a pre-printed one. I've had to do one before where just everything on the document was wrong, on the certificate was wrong, because it was all based on a different state. It was based on the customer's property address, which was in a different state from where I was actually notarizing. So it was just easier for me to create my own certificate and attach it by adding, like I have here, the specifics that I'm attaching it to. So that's something you can do as you kind of go through. You'll see there are odd situations that come up where you will have to do that type of thing. Okay. So again, that is the final part, which is actually doing the certificate. Again, if you have any questions that have come up during this training, please write those down and bring those up when you attend the class so that we can address and answer those questions. We wish you much success in your career as a notary signing agent or just a notary public, however you choose to proceed. Again, this training is geared towards you becoming a notary signing agent. And this pre-course is intended just so you get the basics of being a notary. Because as we stated many times before during the pre-course, being a notary is a prerequisite to being a notary signing agent. Hope you've enjoyed the training so far, and we look forward to seeing you in the class. You enjoy your day.